Hello. Good morning. I just had a waking thought. For some reason, when I wake up, I'm like, "Oh my god, all these thoughts, woohoo!" Um, that's Boone, by the way. I'm crushing him. He's like, "Dad, get off me." Um, I actually wanted to talk about ketamine, and so I don't know how ketamine works with other people. I mean, it's a dissociative. I think it's now Schedule One, Schedule Two. Um, dissociative, and I may be wrong on this. No, Schedule 1 means it has medical applications. The higher up it goes, Schedule 4 is when it has no medical applications and it is illegal. So I'm pretty sure ketamine is now Schedule 1 or Schedule 2. Either way, ketamine is a dissociative, and so it's just that simple. It puts you in a dissociative state, and in my state in Michigan, you could have like ketamine infusions, you could do like ketamine treatment, like nasal spray, and then of course there are the folks who buy street ketamine and then go to raves and stuff, which is totally chill. Either which way, it puts you in a dissociative state. And honestly, the first time I ever really did ketamine was about 2000, 2019. I want to say 2019, and it was medical grade, and it was the nasal spray. My boyfriend was getting it. He was getting it prescribed to him, and I remember doing a little bit of ketamine before this time that the ketamine actually worked. But the first time I'd done it with him, I'd only done one spray in each nostril, and I remember just kind of like detaching from myself, like having a bit of depersonalization dissociation, which was fine. It was totally chill. It was like fun. I could see why people would do it and go to a rave or something. But then that second time I did it, the second time, maybe it was about the third time, he was like, "Hey, because I told him the effects and like how it wasn't like how it didn't put me in the state that I'd kind of seen him in from time to time." And he told me, I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. He told me to do, I believe he said 2 to 3 sprays in each nostril. So that's added. That's about 4 to 6 sprays. And so I did it. And the moment, and I kid you not, the moment I handed him back the nasal spray bottle, I relived the first moment I ever dissociated, like naturally dissociated as a kid. I was about 9 years old, and I had just gone through a really traumatic event, and my mind decided that that event was too traumatic for me to deal with at the time. So it completely just like, it just chose to dissociate to protect me from the situation. And as much I I remember the moment, the traumatic moment, but after that traumatic moment, there's about 2 weeks unaccounted for. And when I come to in my memory, I'm like sitting at a computer, like messaging my mom in California because I was in Michigan at the time when I was a kid. And I'm messaging my mom in California, like just kind of talking about stuff. And it was weird to think about. I mean, even at that time, I noticed like that was weird. It was like a weird blip. And thinking back on it in hindsight, like it's so interesting how one could dissociate for so long and just kind of be in this like state that's like random, just kind of like drifting state. And I always wonder like what was I like in that state? Like what did I seem like? Because it was the first time. So I probably like I wonder if somebody could notice like, and if they did notice, I wonder if they tried to talk to me while I was in that state and I just kind of was like unresponsive. I don't know. I'll always have these questions, but all in all, I guess I'm tired. Um, all in all, this moment I did the 2 or 4 to 6 sprays with my ex partner. It was really really intense. I actually was transported, like mind, body, and soul. I was no longer in the house where I had done the actual ketamine. I was no longer in control of my anything in that present moment because I was actually transported back into the moment the trauma happened and everything after, except for like details of memories, like people I communicated with. All I really see is like it was all I saw was like a fast, almost like a speeding motion of all the places I had been. And I went to school and I walked home and I went on the computer to message my mom and I played video games with my brother and I pet the dogs and I would let Scamper out and stuff like that. And it was just so weird to see myself doing all of these things. The only thing that I didn't get was I didn't get to hear anything. I didn't get any interactions with people. Like I never saw myself communicating with anybody. I just saw myself in action, and it was really, really odd. And I was from a third person perspective. I wasn't. It wasn't through my eyes. It was me watching all of this go down, and it was just so. I remember it being so silent and so like it was so intense and so vivid. And I know exactly what happened in the event. I always kind of question in the traumatic event how it happened and how it went down. But that ketamine and that the dissociative state it put me in, I was able to see what actually happened. At least what I perceived what actually happened because I mean my brain maybe filled in some things and fabricated some things. I don't know. I'm not 100% accurate, but I do know I have a very strong feeling that what I saw when I did that ketamine is what happened. And it gave me a lot of like it gave me a lot of peace for the situation because I always kind of wondered what happened like truly in the situation. And if it went further than what I thought or if it was like less than what I thought. But it was I was pretty close, but you know, it's intense ketamine. And I think because of, you know, the invalidation, whatever environmental or physiological aspects that, you know, helped attribute to my BPD, I think that the fact that I have been dissociating for so long, ketamine kind of like almost unlocked like my ability to recapture those moments in the memory that was lost within those dissociative moments back in my past, because ever since then or after that I was afraid to do it. I was afraid to do it for a while, but then a year or so after, because he, you know, he would get his prescription, you know, often, and a year or so after I would do it and I eased my way back into it. I started out with the 2 sprays and such, and then the next time I had done the equivalent to like 4 to 6 sprays, the same thing happened with a different event, and it was really, really, really interesting as well. Um, However, this time it was a little different. It was a little more interactive, and so I just think that depending on maybe like the varying cofactors of like the situation and the fact that that time when I was younger, that may have been my first dissociative moment, and then after that I don't know, maybe I got better at dissociating and like kind of found a way to like collect a little bit more data the second or so time that I dissociated or what have you. But it wasn't oh gross dog hair. It wasn't all traumatic events. Like it wasn't always traumatic things that I dissociated from. There were just things that I would just drift off. And I got to kind of get those moments back. So in all honesty, for people with BPD, I do recommend, and I wouldn't say street ketamine at all because I've tried it and it's fucking bullshit. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it's bullshit, but the medical grade ketamine, it definitely helped. It definitely helped, like in some of the weirdest ways. But then again, I was in a controlled, safe environment. I wasn't somewhere where I kind of had to like there were no expectations of what I would do or how or my interactions. I was with someone that made me feel safe. I was with someone that was really knowledgeable about it. I was at the time was really knowledgeable about it because my psychology of substance and drug abuse class, and so in college, and so I just like I felt really comfortable, and I think that that has something to do with it. I mean, obviously, with any drug that you're introducing your body to, especially on that level, you want to have a really nice control of like the environment you're in. You want to know that you're safe before going into it. You never want to rush into anything like that because all those things matter. But it was really interesting, and I would recommend medical grade, and I would recommend a controlled environment. I would also recommend having like a nurse or so, like because you can get into studies and things like that, and they'll help you like understand ketamine and how it interacts with your body, and you could be in a controlled environment, type like a hospital setting or like at least like an office setting, but like an all in all or like medical office setting, but like all in all, it could definitely be a tool for sure. It could definitely be a tool. I don't think it should be a habitual tool. I don't think it's a drug that should be used habitually in any sense, at least not for me. Just for the simple fact that I dissociate every day on a regular basis. I don't need to add any more dissociative states onto it, but in the sense of trying to recapture memory loss and dissociation, for me personally, it's been amazingly helpful. I haven't done ketamine in months, 6 or so months, and you know, based on how things are going in my life, I honestly sometimes feel like I can dissociate like at will sometimes. Just yeah, it's odd, but I don't know. It's been 30 or 20 or so odd years of this BPD life. I mean, you got to think some of those things, those coping skills, those coping mechanisms that my body just triggered naturally. You got to kind of think that like over time, my body has learned like, oh, okay, I'm starting to feel this, and at the very beginning of that feeling, doing it as opposed to waiting until that feeling or that moment got more intense, or built in trauma. And so it's a really interesting thing, dissociation, ketamine, and how it all intertwines. But I'm gonna go get some water, probably go to the bathroom or something, maybe brush my teeth or something. Um, thank you for listening, and remember, medical grade, not street shit, okay? Bye.